What's going on, people? It's your man, the YB, back once again. So, we got another leak here from Daniel Dubois, talking about obviously the AJ fight September 21st. Let's get to the bars from Dubois right now.
Then victory was definite.
We heard from your two trainers about how difficult it is being a pad man for you because you do hit so hard. Yeah. If you get it all right on the night and just gym lights are one thing and the fight night lights are another, if you do get it all right on fight night, do you see yourself knocking out Anthony Joshua? Is it important to you or is it just win at all costs?
Yeah, win by any means necessary, but a stoppage is definitely what I'm after. A good stoppage and a statement victory, and that's what I'm all about.
Well, thank you very much for letting us.
So you heard that from Daniel Dubois. He said, boom, listen, I'm fixing to stop that dude. And that's the attitude you need, man. Yeah, that's the attitude you need. I ain't gonna lie to you, man. I went back and watched. I've been talking recently about how your memory of fights, it's not really how they went. I'm quite shocked, really.
Daniel.
I went back and watched AJ versus, not Hellenius, what's the other guy, Wallin. Go back and watch that fight, yeah. At the time, I remember thinking, oh my god, AJ's back and he's like... He's Mr. Miyagi. His UAP. His UFO. He's fourth dimensional. Do you understand? I went back and watched it and I thought, what's it? I mean, again, he stood there and he bonged out the mixed martial arts fighter, okay. That was, people, there's no doubt. The Hellenius fight's here. The Wallin fight's there, and probably you'd like to think the Ngannou fight's a bit higher than that. Yeah, so there's a trend there. It's possible he's going to get even better, allegedly. But watching that Wallin fight back, his butt was twitching. He was boxing. You're right? Fair play. He was boxing. And I guess to be fair, it's difficult because Wallin, he was cagey. Sometimes it's actually easy if someone's coming at you, which is what Ngannou half did, come at him. But Ngannou don't know how to use his head. Yeah, Dubois is good. When you come wading in, yeah, with your head on your chin, when your chin on your chest and you're coming like that, really all that's available is your forehead. You can talk about the uppercut, but literally, if you come wading in like this, yeah, it's hard to hit the chin. So most times you're going to catch someone on the forehead, especially if you're throwing straight shots, you're going to catch them here. Now if you come in like this, then you get caught with anything. The uppercut, the straight, the hook. That's what Dubois does. Dubois comes in, yeah, looking at the floor with his head. And when someone's coming in with their head, yeah, it gets you on the back foot because the head's hard. No one wants to be headbutted. So it puts you in a defensive position. That's why Mike Tyson didn't like fighting Holyfield. That's why Hrgovic, after a few rounds, didn't like fighting Dubois. That head just started coming in. Then again, on the flip side, Hrgovic was lighting up Dubois, so all that low head rubbish, how'd it work for the first few rounds? He was getting head pinged off, so who knows about his fight game, but I'm just saying, the bottom line is, people, yeah, I'd like to think AJ's back, and he's new, and he's improved, and he's Ben Davison. This is a case of, if Dubois whack him on the side of his head, it's not wrong, we've been saying this, if Dubois whack him on the side of his head, he ain't been whacked yet, he has not. Yeah, no one has whacked him yet. And that was the problem before. Even when he was undefeated, he was great until he got whacked on the side of his head by a man who can't punch in Andy Ruiz. People, AJ stands, Anthony homosexuals, yeah? Let's call a spade. Andy Ruiz cannot punch. He cannot. He could not punch with Jerome Miller. He could not punch with Chris Arreola. He could not punch with Luis Ortiz, 60 years old. Oh, he put him down, but that's even worse. To put someone down 3 times and you can't stop him, you can't punch. Oops. Right? You just can't. You can't finish the job. All these fighters went in distance and AJ's ass got punched up. Oh, but he came back in the ring, people. Jerome Miller went straight onto Andy Ruiz, couldn't care less what he was doing. So why is AJ backpedaling in the rematch? Chris Arreola, 50 years old, came straight at Andy Ruiz. Put him down. So how can all these 50-year-old average dudes, really, Arreola and Miller, put it straight on Ruiz, but AJ backpedaling somewhere? It's in your head. Yeah, and you're in there boxing with Wallin again. Boxing with Wallin for what? Boxing with Wallin, people. Boxing with Wallin for what? The same way Jerome Miller said, why am I going to box with Andy Ruiz? I'll just put it on him. Oops. Yeah, AJ boxed with Andy Ruiz. He boxed with Wallin. That to me is something in your head, I believe. That's what I like Dubois. He might get clipped, and I'm not saying he ain't going to get clipped, but he might. The point is, Dubois, yeah, he's come back from adversity, but he's actually come back from adversity. Most of the AJ homosexuals, yeah, you might have to believe in something you haven't seen at this point. You have to believe that, oh, it's coming, YB. No, it's coming. Right? We haven't actually seen him come back from adversity. I've seen Dubois, not so much. People rave about the Miller fight. I thought Dubois was mostly in control of that fight, but I think he was an underdog. So either way, but forget about that. The Hrgović fight, he was like a 4-1 underdog. He was supposed to get his head punched right away in for him. Very few people saw how we were going to win that fight. He goes in there, he starts getting... So he's down on the odds. He then gets in there and realistically has one of the worst starts I've ever seen. As far as the first 2 or 3 rounds go, I've never seen someone get their head punched in so much. That's the truth. So to go through that, the worst 2 or 3 round head punching in I've ever seen, and to stick it on Hrgović and flip the script, an undefeated fighter. And really, if that fight had gone a round or 2 more, Hrgović would have jacked it in. He was overwhelmed with happiness that the referee stopped that fight. That's the truth. You man can cap all the Hrgović downs and tell me, no. Hrgović was happy that fight got stopped. He didn't hear no protest. He was well happy. He was buzzing that fight got stopped. And that's what I respect about Dubois. And Dubois has really had more of a shameful career than AJ, if that makes sense. Who's had the lowest lows? It's been Dubois all day. Yeah? Usyk quitting. Joyce quitting. AJ's had a controversial... Yeah, you got Mr. Blobby who can't punch, punched him up and made him half quit, but AJ's never just jacked every time kind of thing. But Dubois has a platform to go off now. AJ, for me, is even the failed football manager, Simon Jordan, knows this. The PTSD element. Yes, what happened when he get clocked on the side of his head? That is the question, people. And Dubois, he has them shots. If Dubois makes it through the first few right hands or whatever, and really AJ's never been that knockout artist. He just hasn't. I said to some cornball the other day, who is AJ knocked out in 2 or 3 rounds? Oops. You have to go back to like, I don't know, Gary Cornish or something. He just hasn't. Even in his prime. Parker, no. Dillian White, no. Pulev, no. Povetkin, no. It takes him 5 or 6 rounds to get in there. Again. But YB, he's new improved. It's the new one. It's the new AJ who can knock everyone out in a round. People, he couldn't knock out Wally in a round though. In fact, he couldn't knock out Wallin at all. In fact, he had 5 or 6 rounds of Wallin, couldn't put him down. He hit him with one good shot, didn't put him down though. You see that one there? You can't even put Wallin down in 5 rounds. So what makes you man think, yeah, apart from the fact that he KO'd Ngannou, okay, what makes you think you're going to just clip Dubois and knock him out? You never clipped no one apart from Ngannou. Yeah? That's the only person he clipped. And Dubois going to go in there with his head leaning in, yeah, and bowl over them looping hooks. Similar to Andy Ruiz's in that sense. Andy Ruiz is quicker, but Dubois, he sling them. Go in there, leading with his head, slinging them hooks over, and you know AJ defense is leaky. You know that. You know AJ's hands are going to be here. You know that. You know AJ ain't going to be doing the carrot top. You know he's not going to be all narrow and tight. He's going to be here. He's going to boop side of his head, and that's when we're going to find out. That's all I want to see, really. He might be back. AJ might be the new improved one. But until I see him whacked on the side of his head, and he ends up in a fight, I don't know. The odds are massive right now. I think you put about a tenner on Dubois, you get 40 quid profit back. Big odds. And you know what? Like, I might put a tenner on Dubois. No, tell you, I'm not gonna. I'm finna put a tenner on Dubois, yeah, but I don't want to curse him. Yeah, because there's no way the boxing gods are going to pay me out $40, right? That's not going to happen. There's no way the YB going to put a tenner on some Donny and the boxing gods are going to pay the YB out $40. That's just not going to happen. So I don't want to curse Dubois. So I'm not going to bet on Dubois, but That's where I'm leaning towards Dubois in this one. You know, I just am. I implore you, man, to go back and watch the AJ fights. I need to watch the Ngannou fight back. But again, that was a set piece. Yeah, fair play to Ben Davison. They worked out the tells that Ngannou has. And listen, maybe Dubois has some tells in a similar fashion. And AJ can just look at the floor, pull his arm to his waist and sling it over. Maybe. But my bet is, when AJ's pulling that right hand down to sling it off, Dubois going to be throwing something back. And what happens if AJ can't knock out Dubois in a few rounds, like he hasn't knocked no one out? Like he couldn't knock out Dillian White in a few rounds, like he couldn't knock out all the names I've mentioned. What happens then? Because Dubois showed he can go in there with a kind of pound for pound heavyweight, or top 5 heavyweight at the time, and just press him like he robbed something. All over him, just weighing all over him. 250 pounds of inside fighting that's winging away, just winging shots over, bowling them over, cardio for days. Yeah? Johnson, he don't have cardio like that. Johnson has about a round in him. He gave Usyk a round in the second fight, he gassed, finished. He gave Vlad a round and then he took about 5 rounds off. Come on, people. Dubois got gassed to burn. And he's got them and he knows he can do it now. Dubois knows he can come from behind. No, did he? AJ does not, people. He does not know that. What fight AJ come from behind with? You might have to talk about 10 years ago. Oh, Vlad. Oh, I mean, but 44-year-old Vladimir Klitschko. Come on. Yeah, he's an on-top fighter. He's not come back from adversity. He's either winning or he's losing. He don't do nothing else. He don't be, it's close, and AJ's down and he gets back up and wins. You have to go back to 2017 for that one, buddy. So yeah, Dubois, for me, he had the warrior spirit. It's quite ironic in a way. But right now, outside of Usyk, yeah, and Usyk can't really punch, so it's one of them. But outside of Usyk, he the only one who is shown he wants to fight after being down. Fury is not, really. Yeah, you can say years ago, but what's relevant is your last fight, people, at this point in the game. These aren't 10-0 professionals who are still learning. Yeah? That's why your last fight's important. Because you know the game now. And if you get clipped with a shot and you don't really want to fight like Tyson Fury didn't, you're finished, essentially. Dubois, he's arguably learnt something, and he want to fight. He want to go down, get punched up for a few rounds, and still want to fight. That is gold dust in today's world, people. No one had that. Usyk has it. Dubois has shown it. Who else has shown it? I'm trying to think. Oops. Anyway, let me know your thoughts, people. Smash the like button, subscribe, like off the bell, 100%. No doubt about it. People, stop it.